Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second: surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people, he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better read than dead, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains of slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools, and our honored dead who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn they're spirits, not animals. And he said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Welcome back to the Logbook podcast. I'm Kim.
I'm Dakota, and with us tonight,
there you go.
Yeah,
Paul Guns is with us. So he is going to be a permanent, I would say, fixture here at the Logbook with our town halls, unless he decides he wants to go further.
Good old Paulie Guns. How you doing today, Paul?
Doing good. So next Saturday, though, through VetTix, I got 4 tickets to go to see Ed Sheeran. I don't even know the guy's name. The guy that was just sued for copyright thing, but he won. But I'm taking my daughters. So.
Okay. Well, I don't think we're actually going to be doing anything next weekend. Actually,
okay, works out perfect then.
So it's if we have town hall events or stuff within our veteran community, of course, we're going to let you in on it. Of course,
Okay.
Especially with the fight that you and I and almost every veteran is fighting at this moment. I think it's really cool to have an eclectic amount of veterans with different backgrounds and different branches, of course. So because we are one of the very few podcasts that actually talk politics and what's going on in our, let's see, veteran community with legislation and update you on what is actually going on with government accountability reports and news reports that you won't hear on the news media. And a lot of veteran, I would say, spaces try to keep politics out of their networks, which is a damn shame because we are under the executive branch, under the Department of Interior. So politicians rule our lives. So we should definitely talk about them. Which brings us to...
What are we doing right first? first right now? There's so much. There's so much to get through. What are we doing first?
Well, we
Let's
actually
go.
had a town hall in Huntsville with Morgan Luttrell, and it was very heated. As you know, we are in Houston, Texas, and we've had some problems with illegal immigration.
Of course.
You want to talk about what happened up in Cleveland?
Up in Cleveland, yes. So in Cleveland, there was an illegal immigrant who shot up a family of other illegal immigrants. How many was there in total?
Five.
Five.
And a 9-year-old child.
Mm-hmm. All because one legal immigrant does the shooting, had his music turned up way too loud. The family asked him to turn his music down, and he shot him up for it. Killed them
And
all.
just letting you know, illegal aliens can't own weapons here in America. And it was an AR-15. Tell me, Dakota, did that sign work? Did the laws work?
No, they did not.
Paul, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, I was really surprised because I thought if you had like a felony, you've been to prison, you were here illegally, that you couldn't own guns. And I thought the bad guys actually followed the rules.
Oh.
I was almost going to give mine up, but now I think I'm not going to do it.
Yep. I agree. I 100% agree. I mean, I was convinced too. I almost cleaned out my gun safe.
I mean, there's no doubt we have an issue in this country. I mean, there was just another shooting in a mall today. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Wow.
At least 5 people are dead. It was up in, I think, Dallas, and 60 rounds were fired. A lot of injuries is what they're saying. It just happened recently within
Let's look that up.
Yeah, definitely.
And but the one thing that always seems to not happen is the good guy doesn't have a gun, but when they do, a lot of times the threat's eliminated really quick.
Yeah, like the church shooting up here. Oh, you know, when I was testifying up in the Capitol, he was there.
Who's
the
that?
guy that took down the when that church shooting happened.
Okay.
He was there. He was like, I took him down.
And then it was like 3 months ago, there was that restaurant that was robbed, and a guy got up out of his chair. He was eating there, and he shot the robber like 8 times. And then as he was leaving the restaurant, he actually bent down and shot him in the head, and then he dumped his coffee on him. And people thought that was wrong because they thought that was excessive. But I think if you're going to do something stupid and try to rob people with, I think he had a BB gun, you ought to not do that.
Yeah. In Allen, just outside of Dallas.
Oh, wow.
At the Allen Premium Outlets, killed 1, injured 9, including a 5-year-old.
Oh, my goodness.
Mm-hmm. And according to this, responded at 3:30 in the afternoon today.
Wow.
In broad daylight. But yeah, that's insane.
It's not a gun problem. Come on, we've had guns since the Wild West. It's a character problem. And we need to, it's our society, it's our culture. There's this heavy kill culture, and it's not based on video games, because come on, guys, we were playing cops and robbers as kids. Do you remember playing that?
Yeah, I was playing Cowboys and Indians.
Yeah.
But they took that away from us.
And you know, it comes to, in my mind, that it comes to parents. You are the front line of defense here. And what it is that parents are not, they're allowing the schools to raise their kids and instilling these immoral values in their children, and they're not checking on them. It's I hear it all the time. You know, parents, they raise their kids, Christian conservatives, and then they're like, what happened? I don't know what happened to my kids.
That's one thing I like about Congressman Luttrell. Almost every town hall meeting, it seems like someone brings up the question, what are you going to do to make sure the schools are basically raising our kids right? And he says, that's your job. My job to raise my kids and he always says, I'm raising my boys to be men and to respect people and respect women. And that's not the school's job. That's not the government's job. That's the parents' job.
And I will go to a lot of this. It's the broken marriages. You know, a lot of I know in our generation, it's always the grass is greener on the other side. Still, they don't know how to work through the problems, and they weren't taught.
Yeah. Well, and I've been married 3 times, so I've seen a few different front lawns, and I can tell you that my first wife and I, things didn't work out really well for either one of us after we broke up. And I think my oldest daughter, unfortunately, had some difficult times that she had to deal with, that she's still dealing with. But then on the other hand, my second wife and I were best friends, and we work as a team still when it comes to our daughters, and they've done very well. So divorce definitely is an issue, but if it does happen, you can still
working through it. That's what I'm saying, is work through your problems, and that's not happening, anymore. So guys, just to let you know that we are live. This is not a pre-recorded show. Feel free to comment. Feel free to give us your thoughts this evening. I know we kind of pulled this last minute, but we've been really working hard. I'd just like to make a big announcement that on the 18th, we are having a rally. So this goes to Gold Stars, veterans, veteran organizations, veteran charities. It's time to have the talk. Well, we are done. It's time to get politics out of veteran issues. It's not a blue issue. It's not a red issue. It's a green issue. It's a military issue. Gosh, I need to stop saying green issue, because that sounds like I'm pushing a green agenda.
Yeah.
But, I'm just so used to, military being the green issue. But no, I'm tired of it. People don't know what's going on. And if we can't take care of ourselves, don't expect anyone to take care of us. Okay. We can't come across that just because we're veterans. We should be entitled to not fix our problems. It should be America fixing our problems. We are Americans. We are also taxpayers. We need to stand up and fix our problems too. And come on, guys, it's simple as this. Americans look up to veterans and first responders as leaders in this country, because we swore to the Constitution and we need to fight and defend it. I'm not saying physically fight. I'm not saying let's start a riot. I'm saying let's practice due process. Let's get in there and get active and, fix our problems. Let's end the 44 a day. We can go to war like that. We can go to conflict like that. If the government really cared for us, they could fix our problems in 24 hours, but they're not. They're sitting here using us as pawns. And I'm sorry, my life, my family life, I am not a pawn to anybody. I'm an American.
Let's go ahead and share this up here. So this is our Veterans Call to Action, and it is going to be May 18th at 6:30 p.m. at 11777 Katy Freeway, Houston, Texas. If you're a vet, you're in the area, come get your issues heard. It's going to be a great gathering, and we're going to have the talk that needs to be had. And that is, when are we going to actually get up there and get organized and stand up for the problems that's going on with us, the problems that's happening in this country, and actually start taking a stand.
Absolutely. It's time that we organize and take our stand, because enough is enough. I'm done. So anyways, but that brings us to tonight's topic, which is Morgan Luttrell. Paul usually gets to go with us to these town halls, but real men work for a living, unlike Democrat men, just saying. So, Paul, you got any announcements or anything?
No, nothing right now. I'm interested to see what happened at this town hall, since it got a little heated, though.
It did. Because
usually it doesn't.
All right.
Know that I have confidence in what I wanted you to have confidence in me, and I supported him because I wanted to give him the opportunity to lead the House, and he's done a great job thus far. Fast forward the tape, we passed out of the House. The first bill that we passed out was repealing 87,000 IRS agents. We moved through, we had HR 1, this huge piece of legislation that moved out of the House. That was energy independence, bringing energy independence back to the United States, cleaning up the permitting for oil and gas industries, increasing exports, decreasing imports, so we build up our war chest. We did multiple pro-life bills. We did a lot of veterans bills. And just recently, we did the debt ceiling. Okay? The debt ceiling was very challenging. There are 222 Republicans in the House of Representatives. One man is the chairman of the Budget Committee. One man leads the way to put that debt ceiling and that budget process together. All right, so imagine this. This I like to put it into perspective. Imagine if you're the head coach of a football or baseball team, and you've got 221 offensive coordinators telling you what play to run. And that was what was happening. And what you saw in the bill that we passed out of the House had 5 concessions in it. Okay? The REINS Act, repealing we put the 87,000 IRS agents back in there. We did the Green New Deal. Clawing back the COVID funds was around $80 billion. There was one item on there I did not agree with. I'm going to tell you right now, and I had a real problem with it. They put the word reasonable and 1.5 trillion in the same sentence. I know it's good math. I mean, I lived on $20 a month. It's when I was a college student. I don't know how the trillion came into it anyway. So that was a lot of things. It was contentious, but in the end, we voted that out, and it was necessary for us to do that, ladies and gentlemen, because now it's on the administration and the Senate to do their markups and give it back to us. And then here comes the negotiations. Okay, I'm going to drive this point home, and I'm going to open it up for questions so we have plenty of time. The House of Representatives, the lower chamber, Congress, is controlled by the Republican Party. We're the majority. The Senate is controlled by the Democratic Party. And then the White House is controlled by the Democratic Party as well, President Biden. Anything that we pass out of the lower chamber has to go to the Senate for approval, okay? I'm going to tell you right now, the majority of things that we pass out of the House when it hits the Senate will go nowhere, okay? This is Civics 101. I'm just reading everyone in to make sure everybody understands what's going on. In October, so all that legislation that we're pushing out could very well just die. In October, we take back control of the appropriations. The budget, the next budget line, the next budget is coming out. The 2024 budget will be coming out. We have control of that in the Republican Party. That is our leverage. That's how we move stronger and more forcefully to secure the border. Because if the other side wants something for an agenda, we say, fine, happy to fund that for you. We're going to need to secure our border. You want something for this? Absolutely no problem. We're going to need to secure our border. That's how that starts to work. The power of the purse, the Appropriations Committee is very powerful. And since they passed out last year's budget, when the president signed that into law, we fund it all year long. Okay, that's what we're doing right now. Everything that's happening has already been paid for. The reason that we had to raise the debt ceiling is because it's money we've already promised. It's actually money we've already spent. If we didn't move that bill out to raise the debt ceiling, the United States defaults on our debt. And I'm sure that there's a lot of business owners in here, a lot of people have credit cards. You understand if you default on your credit card or you default in your business, it goes away. Okay, and that's a very bad thing. So this is it's a friction point right now. And June 1st, I think, is what the Secretary of Treasury put out when we have to have that done. So this month, next month, these negotiations, you're going to see this flaring up on TV. Probably majority of what you're going to see is us figuring out this debt ceiling. Okay? And I'll be more than happy to come back and read everybody in as we move along and do my best to explain every single detail to you. So with that, I'll open up for questions. Kimberly, I know you probably got the first one loaded up.
I already stopped by earlier.
All right. Yes, sir.
Sir, there's a treaty which is not going to go to the Senate. It's called the World Health Organization Pandemic Treaty. And if this thing goes through, and the Biden administration has been pushing it. It will strip sovereignty away from the federal government and from the states and from 180 other countries in the world. We'll all fall under, all we have to do is call an emergency, and they've got complete control of everything relating to healthcare. And they can say to the United States, you need to pay more money because we need to redistribute it to these poor countries over here. Can we stop that?
Not if it's the president's prerogative. That is executive privilege. But when it comes to funding, when it comes to money, that has to go through us.
Well, that was my next
Yes,
question.
ma'am. No. If it has anything to do with money, it has to pass through appropriations, which we control.
Aren't they talking about defunding them?
No, they're talking about it as a treaty. The
No,
treaty
this
is
is
the
a separate
president.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of nuances that go into the treaty process itself. But if it never needs to be funded, if it ever has to be paid for by anything, it has to go through us. We will absolutely take that one down. Fair answer? Yes, ma'am.
What are you hearing in briefings from like Department of Homeland Security and et cetera about what's going to happen next week when Title 42 goes away?
So what am I hearing about Title 4? I'm going to repeat your question so everybody hears it. What are we hearing on the Homeland Committee about Title 42 once it expires next week?
This time next week.
This time next week. In my opinion, the amount of people that have been coming across anyway, it's like Title 42 doesn't even exist. And I'm just being brutally honest. Hang on. I tease her like that because she's at every one of my events. And I tell her every time, hang on for a second, I'll get you. We'll see. There are almost camps of thousands of people sitting right there waiting to come across. I don't know, I will give credit to, and I had Secretary Merrill in front of me 2 weeks ago, and we were asking him these questions. Yes, you did. And I really wanted to solve this problem. And I told him that, I really want to fix this problem. It's my people we're suffering. And enough of this red, blue, hating each other. I need to fix this problem. So I'll be interested to see what the calculus looks like as this week unfolds into the day before. They could very well say, hey, we're not. They could, as a political move. But I think you'll see the surge if it's rescinded right then. And because of the breakdown in communication and policy enforcement, get ready. And there's as a legislature.
So a lot there. So Title 42 is apparently what's keeping illegals from crossing the border. But after you just heard what Morgan just said, they're coming over so quick. It's like it doesn't even exist.
Yeah, we've seen it. The surge has already begun, and it's really taken over El Paso. They're overrun. Here in the state of Texas, you can't even get ambulances right now because the moment they get to the city, they call 911. They go for an ambulance ride. It's ridiculous. This is really hurting us in Texas. I can't believe the amount. Like just driving home today, they're all under bridges. They're at little encampments around the Houston area. It's very dangerous, not only for ourselves. If you value, in our mind, I value human life, no matter what. The fact is, it's dangerous to them. It's also dangerous to us because of the population. We don't have enough hospitals to support this. We don't. And honestly, we have families that are sitting here struggling to put food on the table. They can't afford their taxes to go up higher and locally, which is what they're trying to do with the housing taxes right here. Like just down the road, there's voting going on all over Texas on May 6th. this weekend is the final day, and there are a lot of like mud districts now that are saying, hey, we're not going to sit here and cap taxes. We're going to leave that open. And it's all over the Houston area, and that's how they're trying to do it, is through mud districts, to raise and increase our taxes and to support the influx of veterans not veterans, influx of illegals for schools. And it's absolutely devastating to our communities. And it's also unfair to them and the quality of life.
Speaking of keeping food on the table, the grocery stores can't even keep food on the shelves.
No.
Especially the closer to the border you get, these illegals are going in. They have food vouchers. They go in and they ransack these grocery stores.
And I can't believe it. To pre-game this influx, you should see the lines in the streets are covered with porta potties just for sanitary measures. That's our tax dollars. That's not okay. What did you think about what he said, Paul?
So I was having a hard time hearing it, but it definitely, when it comes to immigration, I think if somebody wants to come here from another country, I think that's great, but there's going to be a right way. The thing that scares me even more than I know that probably majority of the people coming over from Latin America aren't bad people, but they're still using resources that we don't necessarily have. But they've also have captured or seized a lot that have come in that were originally from China.
Oh, yes.
Like that. And if they can't come over from an airplane and they're having to go through Mexico, to me, there's a problem there.
Right. We actually have a video. A friend of mine was on the border. His name is Frank Lopez Jr. And we actually have a video of him. Guys, take a look at this. And that's we're going to get to it. It's really disturbing, and it's just proof. You can follow Frank Lopez. He is the Texas Border Patriot. And
the guy that shot that family, he was deported, I think, 3 times.
Four times.
Four times, yeah. But here you go. Here's Frank Lopez
on the border.
On the border.
This was a couple days ago.
Frank Lopez Jr., U.S. Border Patriot. So I am on the road here on Highway 277 South. I'm headed to Eagle Pass. But as I'm driving down the road, I came across this group of people. And so what you have here are folks from Peru, from the nation of Peru, P-E-R-U. And so as you can see here, of course, what caught our eye immediately was the way they're dressed, very different from what you would normally see. But these people are from Peru, and they just crossed. I'm just going to speak with them for a few moments here. Let me turn the camera here. Buenas, ¿sí hablan español? Sí. So I asked them, you speak Spanish. ¿De qué nación son? Somos peruanos. Peruanos, de Perú, from Peru. ¿Y acaban de cruzar el Río Grande, el Río Bravo? Sí. Sí, ahora cruzaron. Sí. Y caminaron aquí, van. ¿Y cómo salieron de Perú? ¿A dónde volaron? No, por camión, por autobús, o caminando. So caminaron desde Perú. So they say they walk from Peru. Un año y 4 meses. A year and 4 months they've been walking. Mira, le puedo prestar esta cosa aquí. Y si la puede tener así, platicar, así, es un micrófono. Así está bien. So, ¿para qué propósito vienen a los Estados Unidos? Why are you coming to the U.S.?
Bueno, primeramente saludar a todos los que nos van a ver a través de las redes, a través de su canal de usted. Nosotros venimos de Perú.
Yes.
El quien le habla es de la capital de Lima. Nosotros vamos por el mundo predicando.
So you're preaching. Son misioneros.
Predicadores.
So these are missionaries. ¿Y por qué vienen a los Estados Unidos?
Para poder también compartir el evangelio, que son los 10 mandamientos de la ley de nuestro Dios, porque la escritura en Marcos 16:15 dice Jesús, y les dijo, id por todo el mundo y predicad el evangelio a toda criatura.
So you got some missionaries coming here. Déjame le pregunto, ¿cómo están las condiciones en Perú? What are the conditions in Perú?
A la verdad, en Perú, pues, la situación no está tan mala.
Sí.
La situación está
Situation's
buena,
not as bad.
se
It's
podría
good.
decir, sí.
You could even say it's good.
Nosotros salimos por la prédica,
Para predicar.
para predicar.
Y persecución, ¿han experienciado persecución? Have you experienced persecution?
No. Lo que sí pasó, quizás muchos saben lo que aconteció en el régimen de la señora Dina Boluarte, de lo que aconteció en Perú con la salida de Pedro Castillo. Quizás muchos lo saben, y sí, pues sí hubo muchas muertes de personas, de nuestros compatriotas. Pero nosotros estamos saliendo con la finalidad de llevar el evangelio, que son los 10 mandamientos de la ley de nuestro Dios, a toda la humanidad.
Okay, so you've heard it from his own mouth here, folks. Of course, I'm translating for you here. It's not so much about persecution, as far as for asylum purposes. They're coming predominantly. He even said, situation's not that bad. We're coming to preach. And hey, I'm all for the gospel going forth. But there is a proper, orderly way to do that. And this would show you there are a lot of people that are taking advantage of the current administration, their laxity or their lack of enforcing law, taking advantage of that situation. ¿Y para dónde van? Where are you all going?
A la verdad, pues estamos ahorita dirigiéndonos al pueblo más cercano, que tenemos razón que es Quemado. Hasta ahí para poder
So they're going to the nearest town of Quemado. ¿Qué es su destinación final? What is your final destination?
El destino final solamente nuestro Dios lo sabe.
Only God knows.
Sí.
So they don't know where they're going.
Sí.
¿Y qué han oído tocante a la oportunidad de entrar a los Estados Unidos bajo este gobierno del presidente Biden? What have you heard about the opportunity to come into a country under Biden?
Bueno, hemos oído, a la verdad, pues la situación también de muchos de mucha gente que migra para este país, que algunos, muchas cosas.
Different a lot of things.
Pero nosotros estamos a la voluntad de Dios.
Yeah.
O sea, él es el que va a determinar con nosotros, porque tampoco nosotros no venimos aquí a hacer lo malo, no somos gente mala. Si nos encuentra ahorita la patrulla, nos vamos a entregar. O sea, no tenemos, no venimos ni a escondernos ni nada. Como usted ve, nosotros estamos caminando por la medio de la carretera y a la voluntad de Dios.
Yeah, so he says, look, we're not coming for any bad, evil purposes. They're coming to preach. Pero ¿qué han oído? ¿De que es fácil o es difícil entrar a los Estados Unidos?
Es difícil.
Hard or easy?
Es la caminata que nosotros hemos hecho en las fronteras, donde hemos visto mucho sí, control de parte de la policía americana. Yeah. Nosotros también pensábamos que hoy día íbamos a ver aquí del lado entre la frontera a la policía o a la migración, pero no lo hemos hallado.
Yeah, so they say it's difficult, but from the journey perspective of it. ¿Pero qué han oído ustedes? What have you heard about tocante el gobierno de los Estados Unidos dejándolos entrar a los Estados Unidos? What have you heard about the government letting you come into the U.S.?
A la verdad, pues sabemos que no es nada fácil.
They know it's not easy.
Que no es nada fácil, por lo que tengo entendido, pero no, ¿qué más podría decirle? Como le digo, a la voluntad de Dios, a lo que Él determine con nosotros.
Yeah.
A lo que Él determine con nosotros.
So obviously, they're responding from their perspective to a calling. Déjame le hago una pregunta. Let me ask you a question. Mira, la palabra de Dios, the word of God, habla tocante los reinos, habla tocante las gentes, naciones. The word of God talks about kingdoms and people groups and nations. Y fronteras and boundaries. Ustedes entraron a los Estados Unidos a través del río. You crossed the river.
Del Río Bravo.
You came across the Rio Grande River. Eso, tocante de acuerdo a la ley de los Estados Unidos, es una entrada ilegal.
Sí.
According to the word of God, to the U.S. law, that is an illegal entry. And he said, yes, he agrees. So, ¿qué dicen ustedes de violar la ley del gobierno a entrar ilegalmente a los Estados Unidos? What do you say about having violated the U.S. law by entering illegally into the country? ¿Qué dicen ustedes tocante eso?
Claro, sabemos que hay leyes,
sí,
leyes humanas,
they know we have laws,
leyes de los gobiernos que establecen leyes. Nosotros, hermano, con todo el respeto para los que van a escuchar, Dios, así como Dios nos manda a nosotros para llevar el mensaje a todo el mundo, para Dios no hay frontera, no hay límites. Salmos 24:1 dice, de Dios es toda la tierra y toda su plenitud y todo lo que en él habita. Entonces, claro, nosotros para los hombres estamos mal porque estamos como ilegales aquí en Estados Unidos. Pero para con Dios, miren, si yo le contara todo el trayecto que vengo caminando y se me han abierto puertas. Y hoy en día estoy aquí en este lado americano porque así Dios lo quiso, lo permitió que llegáramos a este lado.
Yeah, so obviously he's going to follow the word of God, and what he's saying is, God is the God of the earth, God of the world. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with God being the God of the universe. My take on that, though, is that God clearly establishes nations, and God clearly establishes borders to those nations. So, folks, miren lo que dije en inglés. Yo entiendo que el Dios es soberano. Él es el rey de los cielos, crió el universo. Pero también al mismo tiempo han leyes humanas y Dios está.
Well, the conversation, y'all can go find out. You can go check out Frank Lopez Jr. on the Frank Lopez Jr. U.S. Border Patriot and continue that interview. But that interview happens all the time with Frank Lopez Jr. on the borders. He's caught Middle Easterns and he interviews them. He's caught Chinese, but it's, again, most of his interviews, oh, I'm fine. There's nothing going on. I'm not fleeing anything. And that's what coming on across the border. And we know that. But it's the just the pretentiousness of that guy. I've been walking here for a year and a half. But why can't you stay in your country and preach the gospel? Sounds like to me you're a Ponzi scheme.
Thing is, I'm not so sure about him walking from Peru. His clothes are way too clean.
Well, and my take on that is, in this country, we would definitely probably could use a little bit more God.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if he's coming to America to preach, most Latin people already are pretty godly people. So I don't know. I'm not going to understand what he's saying.
I'm sorry, but this is the South. There is a church on every single block.
But sometimes more than one.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because, the Baptists have to compete with the Methodists. We know how it is. Guys, I would like to introduce to you the lovely, my twin, Kim, to the show. You have seen her go head-to-head with Morgan Luttrell recently, a little baddie in a wheelchair. We would like to welcome to our show Miss Kim Norrid, and she is a fantastic asset. She literally will hold our politicians accountable, which she constantly does.
By the throat if necessary.
As you heard from Morgan, she's always at my town halls. She'll always be there, and I know how to handle this. You already got that. But hopefully she can be a more permanent position here. She is a very, very great voice in the veteran community. It was my pleasure to actually meet her. And as she goes after and takes out those at Veteran Affairs, guys, it's going to be a riot. So welcome, Kim. How are you doing?
So far, so good.
Yeah, we know that we're dealing with a lot of things. Every one of us are disabled veterans, you guys, and we have good days and bad. And Miss Kim here is one of the biggest champs. I would say a little bit of my hero some days. If she can do it, I convince myself I can do it. So
we can all do it if we just stick to it.
Yeah. So we're going to get back into our town hall with Morgan Luttrell.
Yeah.
Feel free, Kim, if you want to say something, just pop right out and we'll just lower the video down, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Here we go. And
ladies and gentlemen, I'll be very clear on this as a legislator. And I wish I could do this. I have to be very careful what I say as a congressman. I can't say that I'm going to arrest somebody. I can't say that I'm going to send somebody. I can't say that. I help create law. Okay, so it's my job to listen, and if there's something that is not being enforced, we go after it. But again, here we have the checks and balances in the House and the Senate, and we're not working together. because it's two different parties, unfortunately. I hate to say that, but that's just how it is. I would get anything if we could coalesce. So I'm watching it just as patiently and diligently as you are, ma'am, and I'm hoping that they because actually my Democratic colleagues on the Homeland Security Committee, they really respect the fact that this is a big deal and it's bad for the country. They do. They'll never tell you that to your face and never say it on TV. But when we're together, they're in agreement. Like, yeah, this is bad. The people are suffering. And how do we tweak this? And it's really the failure for enforcement. When I said communication breakdown, there's a loss between the president, the vice president, Secretary Mayorkas, and then down inside the organization. I'm trying to find out where that is, because when I ask leadership with Customs and Border Patrol or any of the other agencies, they'll tell me, well, I've got direction from this entity. And when I say, well, who's responsible for that entity that gave you that direction, it gets lost. It's inside the bureaucracy. And I'm really trying to break that down and find that answer for you. That's the best I got for you right now. Sorry. Yes, sir.
I'll ask the question that I asked last time.
Did I not answer last time?
What is our objective in Ukraine?
I do remember that question. I did not go all around and I answered that question.
And will those that are serving there receive full benefits as if it were a combat zone?
Mm-hmm.
Those certain, like Ukrainians?
No, our people
Our
that
soldiers.
are boots on the ground.
I got you. Don't. Oh, yeah, no. I got you. Okay, so what is our? That's a great question. So I'm finished funding the Ukraine effort. No more dollar bills. We are $31 trillion. I was well paid. I've never voted for funding to go over there, and the billions that are over there are effective and efficient, in my opinion. Here's where I honestly think, and criticize me for this one, and you will, but as a former sailor and SEAL, I support the fact that our forces are helping train their forces in order to fight the Russians. I support that. I do. I think it's necessary. And I think I said this to you. I've been in places where I've seen war-torn towns, and the babies and the children were dead, and the women are dead. And maybe I'm a different breed of human being, but I won't stand for that. And that's why I support us assisting the Ukrainian effort that way. Okay? Answer your question?
No. So McCarthy and McConnell say they're pushing aid. So despite what my congressman says, so anyway, Trump says he can have peace in 24 hours in there. So what's the objection?
What does winning look like? Well, so I can't tell you what winning looks like, because I couldn't even tell you that in Afghanistan and Iraq, and I fought there the whole time. Right? Why are we there? And the reason that we're there now is to support their troops. Okay? As far as ending the war in 24 hours, that would be impressive.
Are we fighting for peace?
I like to think so, yes.
He's the objective.
I would think so, yes. I do not want to see us. So here's the complexity of your question. There's so many narratives. There's so many just rock drills that we could do this, because let's just say, and it's all in hypotheticals. If we didn't do anything, what would it look like? Would that posturing have led China into Taiwan? I don't know. If that would have happened, would South Korea go to North Korea go down to South Korea? I don't know. But if that domino effect started to happen, we would be in a world war.
Yes.
Now, I get your frustration. I do. And as far as the funding goes, I don't think we should have spent that much money. But I'll always appreciate, because I help support countries around the globe in conflict by training their forces up so they could go either fight a rebel faction or whatever else. And I think that's warranted. And it's frustrating to people to say, because we're Big Brother. And that's my opinion. My opinion only. I'm your congressman. As far as McCarthy goes and every other Republican, I don't know how they see it. I'm just telling you how I see it as your representative. Me and me alone. I don't speak for Mr. McCarthy. I don't speak for Schumer. I don't speak for Crenshaw, Babin, Sessions. No. I'll speak for Morgan. Okay? And that's how I answer your question, sir. Yes. You asked me that question. Give it back to me.
Okay. We have troops on the ground in Syria. We have troops on the ground in a training capacity, I understand. And we still have them in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yes.
We have them in Ukraine. This is going to sound cold, but I'm a Gold Star. Will their wives or husbands receive the same benefits because it's not a combat zone?
Yes. They tie combat zone and training operations in the exact same box.
Okay.
They do. That's a fact. And thank you for your service, and I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. On that note, because I actually had my own question. First, I tried mailing that to you.
It bounced back, didn't exist.
And I have stuff for you to read later.
Before she continues, let's cover Ukraine. What's your thoughts, guys?
I agree with Morgan's point. We need to support the training because we need to make a stance, but the amount of money that we're spending is America doesn't have that money. We have things here that we need to address with money.
Yeah. What do you think, Kim?
It's okay to help. I agree with helping them as much as we can. But when we're almost in government shutdown and our VA checks and our Social Security checks are fixing to be non-existent if the government goes into shutdown, I think that's just a little more important than how much more help can we give them.
I agree. I do know this is that this actually goes back to, I would say, Clinton or Bush era. Remember when Ukraine was actually had nukes and they were trying to get the nukes out of Ukraine. They said, hey, if you remove your nukes, if something happens between you and Russia, we'll defend you. And we actually made a treaty in the 1990s. So I get the importance of keeping our word as America, because that treaty is going to be held against us. But what I'm tired of is us entering into these treaties without goals, without limits. That's just bad practice for America, and saying, hey, we'll help you. And then we've covered recently the amount of support that they've gotten from Americans versus the EU, who also signed that treaty. It's hardly anything.
It's great. It's crazy. You have all these politicians that go to law school but refuse to practice it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give a shout out to Miss Tori Seals. That's her in the dress. She actually did come out showing you the power of networking and the power of podcasting. She actually did come out and she was on her show. That was actually one of the hardest shows I've ever done so far on the Logbook. I broke down.
She came from where? Tennessee?
No, she came from the Dallas area.
Oh, the Dallas
Fort Worth area.
DFW.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's doing really big things. We are going to keep up with her and follow along with her. Just a fantastic freedom fighter and the ultimate example of what a freedom fighter is. So,
but one more comment on the Ukraine thing.
Yeah,
we don't need Putin trying to be a Marxist and trying to act like Hitler either.
You're right. You're right.
I mean, we got countries trying to steamroll countries and we're constantly in the middle of it. But when can we say enough is enough? We need to pull back and take care of what we got at home.
Right. I agree.
We can't be the world police all the time.
Right.
But I think if we stop that completely, just like he said, Ukraine would become Russia. Taiwan would become part of China. South Korea would become part of North Korea. And where does it end?
True. Yeah, I can see that point. But I do like the thought of how he says it in a polite way. It's like, well, since we're sitting here, playing God a little bit and trying to tell the future with politics, while you're out there, please go get the lottery numbers if you actually know this. And I think there is an expectation of the American people that politicians should automatically know this. But the thing is, 90% of our politicians have no idea how war works too. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, the absolute gall that they just try to sell the propaganda to the American people like they do.
Yeah, the thing is, our politicians have enough on their shoulders. We don't need to be deifying them.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there are some things I'm going to disagree with Morgan, and that's just human nature.
All right.
I think the border issue is an easier fix than the whole Ukraine and all that.
I think the border could be fixed in 24 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Tourism. Tourism. Set up gun towers along the border, have people pay $20 a pop, and just start shooting Mexicans.
Hey.
That's not okay.
The logbook does not reflect the views of Dakota Moyer.
The logbook does not reflect
How
the views.
Are you gonna make that look like target practice? I said, how are you gonna make that look like target practice?
I can sit there. It's that I think honestly, if you start taking out the coyotes, guys, in case y'all don't know that terminology, coyotes are the lead ringers of from the cartel that actually guide the people. If you just start popping them off, they'll quit.
And people pay $5,000 to $10,000 to coyotes to come to America.
Right. It is human trafficking at its finest. Well, let's continue.
Yep.
That's what I'm here for. That's my job.
Now, one of the questions I do want to ask about is, as a widow, I received DIC, which is dependency and indemnity compensation through the VA. It is supposed to be the VA's version of a pension. One, it's being treated as an alimony and will go away if I ever remarry. Not like I'm ever going to remarry at this point. Not an option. But we've got 20. Oh, no, I'm done. We've got 20 and 30-year-old widows with little kids that if they even start dating, hold themselves out to be married, they will lose all benefits for themselves and the children. Yep. That's one issue. There is a bill that's coming. It's called Love Lives On Act. I would like for you to support that.
It was actually from the committee.
Yes.
Saw it. I support what you say 100%. We are working on that. Absolutely. It already came through committee. It's moving into main committee and going to the floor.
What about caring for survivors? 1083. That's the one where it raises the percentage from 43% to 55% so that it's equal.
That's in there too.
Okay, so why can't we get people to co-sponsor?
I can't answer for anybody else.
I got the list of who's co-sponsored, and there's only one Republican, and he was the one that presented.
When was this?
This was printed today.
Was it? That's it?
This is my list with demands, basically. That's all I said. We can talk after, but I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah, you're seeing what I'm seeing. Look at his face. I know.
All I see is WTF.
Yep. No, I'll dig into it. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good?
Yeah,
Okay.
for now.
For now.
I think there was a, for now. Go ahead.
Two-part question. Holding the power of the purse with the recent election meddling, what can we do about telling Ray and the FBI, sorry, we're not gonna give you more money until we get answers from slow rolling, slow walking, subpoenas, information crossing out?
Okay, great question. So, to repeat it.
And I have a second part as well.
Okay. Give me a second. So the question was, how do we hold money back from the Department of Justice in order to enact fair elections, hold people accountable, subpoena actions, so forth? Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
Great question. So that all lives in the Judiciary Committee, okay? And just so everybody knows, District 8 right now we are on the House Armed Services Committee, Homeland, and VA, okay? So that question, sir, lives in the Judiciary. And before the Republicans and the Democrats switched majority, they had subpoena power. So when all of this was bubbling up, no subpoenas were pushed out and no information was shared, okay? And since we've flipped, we've had to start from zero. I had a conversation with a colleague of mine that's on Judiciary 2 days ago, and he explained to some folks how this was playing out. Because you asked the question to the DOJ, Hunter Biden, Afghanistan. Right now, the Judiciary Committee has had to start completely over, building all the information, all the caseload, all the subpoena power. That's all coming up. And what they're doing is building a concrete case. So when they do move on it, it's sound. Okay, but they had to start from ground. They had to start completely over. They issued subpoenas right after the general election, but since we weren't sworn in, it went nowhere. And so we've only been doing this for 4 months. And that's where all that lives right now. And second question.
Yes. First, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Second part, do you think Mayorkas will ever call you Congresswoman again?
I think that shocked me as much as it shocked my response. I like to think I had him spun up enough that he got a lot of situational awareness, but that did kind of take me. I tried not to lose my cool. I hope not.
I
think everybody else did too, but remember, I represent y'all, so I think the majority of them like, yeah, you should have done it. Yes, sir.
In 1968, the Department of Defense bought me a new Ford Bronco, gave me the world's most lucrative PhD fellowship. We went and did research in Central America, Mexico, and all the way to Panama. And it immediately dawned on me that this problem at our border was going to come soon. Now, this was 55 years ago, but I met a man, just as one example. He had 14 wives and 100 children. Those poor women down there are just used to be bred, and they have no way to get anything to plan their family. And I predicted also there was overpopulation on tropical soils. It's not too late to help those people, because otherwise it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And to get that message across, and it's failed. The other thing is that I'm just flabbergasted at. Exactly 50 years ago, I was strategic communications crypto officer, and secret documents were stolen. And I'm flabbergasted. If we even had an article out of Time magazine that was marked confidential, we did not let it leave that building without armed guards coming in, going. None of this crazy stuff would ever have happened under Congress. But that's 50 years ago.
Yes. Well, when I had to get my security clearances, we were scrutinized, and I'm sure some of you in here actually got spoken to by the folks that did all the clearances. So I respect exactly what you're saying, how important classified, confidential TSSCI documentation is. But was coordinates good? I can hear you chewing. I don't know if you guys know this, but when you are elected to a member of the House of Representatives or the Senate, you get the highest clearance level handed to you. You believe that? They give it to you.
Why aren't they taking them away from the ones that
Legally, they can't.
I know.
There's
I feel your frustration. I do.
I raised that question. Why don't they snatch them away from folks?
Swalwell and Swift.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
I got you next, sir. I'll him, then you.
Once in my life, I hear about, raising the dead sea,
What were they talking about snatching away?
Security clearances. So I that one guy had a very loaded question. Like he was all over the place. I mean, it was a lot of conspiracy theory, Bitcoin. I didn't even know what kind of questions he was even asking at some point.
Mm-hmm. Like, I know right there at the end he was referencing the leak that happened at the Pentagon. Some low-level airmen came and took classified documents out of the Pentagon with no escort whatsoever. And I think a statement that was released from that was the security on the outside of the Pentagon is sublime. However, the security that's on the inside of the Pentagon needs work. So that's the last I heard on it. Did you guys hear anything else on it?
No, it's been kind of mute lately.
Yeah, it has been kind of mute.
It's been as mute as the fact that Biden had confidential documents at his house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can't really, if they sat there and the news media addressed it, they would actually have, American people aren't stupid. Okay. They would have to address Biden and Hunter, and they're trying every place, I believe, not to address it.
Maybe that's the airman that details Biden's car. Just
that's how the stuff ended up.
Yeah, that's how it ended up in there.
But the only one they want to go after is Trump.
Yeah. And apparently those what weren't those what's the video the envelopes empty on some of Trump's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm still wondering what the heck is redacted.
Yeah. Oh my god. I mean, just the sleeves that just printed off pieces of paper that say top secret confidential, just scattered throughout the floor.
Put it on paper that says top secret and confidential, and use a Sharpie and block what you think the people don't need to see.
Yeah, exactly. But we do have that lovely video of Morgan Luttrell being called a woman. I think we should actually show that one real quick.
Yes.
Oh, his eyes are priceless.
Oh, it is hilarious.
It is
Here
priceless.
we go.
Now recognize Mr. Luttrell from Texas.
Good afternoon, Mr. Secretary. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Congressman.
I have a line of questioning I was going to ask you, and I got to tell you, just to mimic Ms. Clark's statements, I think this committee needs to do a better job. If we spend as much time solving problems instead of wire brushing ourselves, there's a point in time I forgot you were in here, and I want to ask you face to face, man to man, will you meet with me in the next few weeks so we can hash this out? Because what I seem to think that I'm hearing is there's a breakdown in communication and the understanding of either vernacular or language that either makes you responsible for what we have of our expectation. And I think there's a breakdown there. So I'm asking you, would you meet with me so I can tell you what I'm seeing from my district in Texas?
Congressman, I would gladly.
Yes or no? Thank you.
I would gladly meet with you.
Thank you. And so I represent Texas 8. We are basically a landing zone for the border, okay? And I want to bring two names to your attention, Mr. Ethan Griffin, age 22, Mr. Joshua Gillahan, age 14, both perished from fentanyl, okay? And I don't care what administration you're talking about now, right? I'm past red and blue, okay? Joshua died 8 months ago, okay? Here are my numbers, sir, in my district. In 2020, 325 deaths. In 2021, 538 deaths. 2022, 600 plus, and the number is growing this year. Now, sir, you are the commander of the ship. I have to point my finger at you. I wanted you to address me and say, what would you say to the mothers of these two young men, those babies, because they're in the room? I'm not going to politicize you, sir, but I would ask you that when you go to Mr. Pfluger's office, I'm going to have those mothers there. Would you please address it? Because here's my issue, sir. Every day, I run into those mamas. Every day. And I have to tell them, I'm working on it. Every day in my district, they ask me, why isn't the border secure? What can we do to enhance border security so we are not overwhelmed? And every day, your name comes up. And I can't imagine, after seeing what I've seen today, how challenging it is to you to lead this department. We will do better. I give you my word as a Texan and as a congressman that with this committee, we will do better to provide you guidance as a united body so you can secure our border. That's what we need. You agree to that?
Congresswoman, Congressman.
Whoa. All right, hey, back that up, buddy. I identify as a man, and I don't have any pronouns.
Congressman, I apologize. Congressman, we need to work together to address the challenges that have been the subject of this hearing. And fentanyl and the scourge of fentanyl is one of them. Let me share with you that the scourge of fentanyl is not new to 2023. It is not.
I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying that at all, sir. What I'm saying is these numbers, and again, you heard me say, I don't care what administration you're talking about, these numbers are progressively getting worse. So you and I, and this committee, and this body politic, need to put aside our differences because it is the American public that are suffering. No wonder they're pissed at us. Yes?
Agreed, Congressman. Let me share with you one thing that we could do, just one example of what we can do together. Fund the Department of Homeland Security for $305 million so we have a greater level of non-intrusive inspection technology to detect.
I agree that we need to fund. However, sir, if we're going to spend, what, $3 million on a private law firm to help you prep for hearings, from what I understand, the documentations that I saw today, 1.5 million already gone out the door. As a fiscally conservative man, if we want to fund a department, let's fund it. And let's just not go spending things that we don't need to spend taxpayer dollars on. How about that?
Congressman, I respectfully must say that you are conflating very serious issues with other issues that do not relate.
Which serious issue am I conflating? The border problem? Hey, be careful because I'm kind of on your side right now, but that can switch, especially after you call me a woman.
Again.
Congressman, yeah, I apologize. It's been a number of hours.
I've been here with you the whole time. I get it.
Yeah. Well, let me share with you. Your seat over these last few hours has been very, very different than my seat. For my level, so I apologize for the error.
You think so?
I meant
you just think because you're taking darts from this committee and didn't you just hear me say that I got to stand in front of those two mothers back there and explain to them what I'm doing to make sure their babies and other babies, what the reason that they died? I didn't think so. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. I now recognize Ms.
I'm sorry, but Mayorkas is completely out of touch. Kim, Paul, all of us have been at a Morgan Luttrell here or his town halls. He knows without a doubt we put pressure on him, flat out. But I think he enjoys it.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
I just worked with him with some other people to get better TBI evaluations for veterans.
Yeah.
And I just got a 120-point TBI evaluation from my neurologist first Monday of last month because of Morgan Luttrell.
Yeah, he's still going down the rabbit hole on my case. And he's letting me know that it's a rabbit hole, how bad my case was. So I'll just let everyone know and remind everyone, I was not given any prenatal care or any OBGYN or any care in having a baby. And then they turned around and arrested me for it. Like, that's my fault. So, yeah, he's going down the rabbit hole. And I know my case is pretty big. For what he's doing.
But that's because in the VA's mind, they provide abortions. So they have a solution.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was supposed to do with my kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so much for pro-choice, right?
But now they also provide fertility treatment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But the problem is, so their OBGYN system for infertility, they just add them into actual pregnancy care. So that's where they sent me, is to 2 infertility specialists. I'm like, you're pregnant. You're not even supposed to be here. Because that's how even infertility specialists are still OBGYNs. So that's where I kept getting canceled. So, but in response to that bill, did y'all know that House Resolution 8, right after that meeting, Morgan Luttrell actually co-sponsored the impeachment of Mayorkas.
Yes.
So that did happen. What do you got, Paul?
I was gonna, whenever I think of the VA providing, and what did you call it, to help women have babies?
Fertility treatment.
Yeah, I could see the VA basically saying, well, it's probably your husband, so we're just gonna rape you, and we'll see if we can get you pregnant.
Well, with the men being treated in the women's clinic for mammograms in a women's only clinic, it's not who's gonna get raped, it's when will it happen.
Right. And here's the thing, is that if you do get raped, you have nowhere to go to. You can't go to state and local police. You can't go to the VA police because they won't believe you, because the VA can't investigate or charge itself at all. And that's been a big thing. Go, Paul.
Well, they can't investigate themselves because that happens every day. But if you and I were to go rob a bank and would be able to investigate ourselves, we'd be robbing banks for a living.
Exactly. So that's what they're doing, is taking money from us taxpayers and the American people because they're investigating themselves.
One day I told the chief of the women's clinic, she knew that I had a problem with the men being treated in the women's only clinic. She goes, well, if you're uncomfortable, we can lock you in a treatment room.
Wow.
Why should I get locked in a treatment room because you want to treat men in a women's only clinic?
Yeah, they did that to me once when I had surgery. There was a problem of, the overflow of veterans. So there was more veterans than should have been in the room, actually recovering from surgery. And they were like, well, you need to get up and leave. I'm just like, I'm the one with the worst surgery. I'm not leaving. Make someone else leave. But the fact is I'm sitting here thinking to myself, that's still a veteran. I'm not okay with that. Kicking out another veteran. It's just, you need to make more space and do your jobs. But however, there are several empty rooms, but there was not enough staff to cover those rooms. And that's been a big problem.
And then just because Morgan has longer hair does not make him identify as a woman.
That was so bad. All right, I can't believe it. But here's the thing, is Mayorkas came out yesterday. He was actually on the border, and he kept saying over and over again that the border's closed. Did y'all catch that?
Yeah.
Completely nuts. Well, we're going to go ahead and continue.
Well, if the border's closed, then why is there 70,000 people sitting at the border and waiting?
Serious and do a balanced budget so that we live beyond in our means, just like we have to do in our own home.
Agree with you 100%. Why do we keep raising the debt ceiling? Why don't we balance the budget, control the debt ceiling, and live as we would live if we run our business or our homes?
Yes.
100%, sir. I asked that very question to the budget committee. Like, why don't we not raise the debt ceiling? Why don't we put money on it, lower the debt ceiling, and pay our debts off, and run this like a business?
Exactly.
And the answer is very short. The answer was, we don't have any money. We spend $2 trillion more than we take in. We don't have anything to put on the national debt because we are paying all mandatory and non-discretionary spending every year. And as the debt increases, we will be at a point here shortly, 5 years I think, that the interest rate that we pay on the debt is more than the defense budget. And I'll tell you this, 75% of the money that goes out of the government every year is mandatory spending. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, Veterans Affairs, financial services, that little bucket of, those little buckets every year. The book's never open. The budget comes in, signed off, it goes out the door. Every year, we continue to spend more than we take in. I'm not making this up. I'm not being political here. I'm telling you numbers and facts. We had the Congressional Budget Office come brief the entire body, both sides, non-political, just numbers. I don't care which administration you're talking about. It's everybody's fault. There was not one administration that didn't spend any more than the other one. Plain and simple. Some are here, some are here. It got us where we are today. And because of that, and because we continue to outperform our revenue that we bring in, we can't pay the debt down. And then eventually we won't have any money to pay the mandatory things that we all need and care about. Okay? Eventually, one of two things are going to happen. We're going to go off the cliff, the economy will scuttle, we will have zero money to pay out the benefits, and we will reap that, or we will be forced to open up the mandatory books and do a forensic audit. I'm just telling you the facts. I'm not trying to sway you in any way, I'm just telling you how it is. Eventually you'll have to open the books. That's where we are. Unless there's a few band-aids, I shouldn't say band-aids, there's a few things we can do. If we are able to bring our industrial footprint back, increase our exports greatly, bring our economy back to where it needs to be, we wouldn't have to do that. That's how we fix that.
So what do y'all guys think? I think we should open the books now.
I agree.
Yeah, see where the money's actually going and make it very transparent.
Because $25 million to Pakistan for the study of why men want to dress like women, when Nancy Pelosi was a guest judge on RuPaul 4 times, she could have just looked over and said, why do you like to dress like a woman?
Right. And to me, I would like them to look at like the American Rescue Plan. Inside the American Rescue Plan, there was an exorbitant amount that went to Veteran Affairs, especially to our Veterans Affairs here in Houston. And apparently they still have the money. Where did it go? And then another problem was PACT Act. 2/3 of that was Democrat discretionary funds, but it was never allocated. And that's another, there's so much fraud within Veterans Affairs.
If they did away with the VA and allowed us to seek doctors just like our senior citizens, then the government wouldn't have to pay to maintain all the VA buildings, update equipment. That would all be having to be done by civilian hospitals, which probably do it much better.
They do.
And I'm sure it still wouldn't be cheap to cover all the issues that veterans have. But I think if you're just paying for the care of the veteran, that's got to be cheaper than paying for the care plus the infrastructure, plus the salaries of all the employees. Let those employees go work at the local hospitals where they have to perform or they're not going to keep their job, and let us go take care of our health care in the community.
Right. But the thing is, Democrats won't, because they, just like they showed us with the IRS, with the police and the IRS, we've already had that at Veterans Affairs through the VA police, which are real LEOs. They're not going to give up that control, because the police work directly for the president. They report to the executive branch. And they take their orders from that. They take their orders from policy, and the Democrats know that. And the thing is, conservatives, the Republicans, they don't. They really don't. Whenever they find out, they're like, oh, crap, this is bad. I'm like, you voted for it. Get rid of the VA police. We don't really need them. If there's something that's broken, we should be able to use our police in our state.
Yeah, but whenever we're pulled into a disruptive behavior committee, who will be the ones to protect the VA employees? Because we're such bad people.
Oh, I know. I mean, it goes both ways. If a VA, it should go both ways, and that's the actual civil rights violations. If a VA employee kills us like that Retta Mays did, she killed over 20 veterans, but she was only charged with 7 deaths. They get to cover it up. How many nurses have killed veterans because of insulin? That's what I really want to know.
Plenty. Because they've got nurses in the VA system feeding veterans that are laying up on the wards, feeding them insulin just to watch them suffer, knowing that the patient is not diabetic.
Yep.
So here, I'll tell you something, since we're talking about veterans and we were talking about immigration. So my spouse is originally from Honduras, and I've helped people that have come here that are going through their immigration process and stuff. And as a veteran, when we go to the VA, I truly feel they don't truly care how we're treated.
No, they don't.
Some employees are great, don't get me wrong, but generally the VA, they could care less how we're treated. On Gears Road in Houston is where the immigration office is. When an immigrant leaves the immigration office, at the door, there is a little touchpad that they want the immigrants to push, whether they were treated and they were happy with how they were treated or angry. And then there's like 5 buttons. And they push that because they want to make sure that the immigrants that are here that possibly could be here illegally are treated with respect and treated fairly. So where our government is more worried about how the immigrants are treated, which they need to be treated with respect if they're here, but we don't have that at the VA.
Well,
go on, Kim.
Just to give you an example, on the 18th of April, I went to dermatology to get my injections. My female PA that I normally see wasn't there that day. Why they set me that schedule without her there that day, knowing that I deal with her, is beyond me. A male came out and I said, I don't want to be seen by a male. I want to be seen by my female. And he wrote me up for disruptive behavior because I did not want to physically be touched by a male.
So you're now red flagged.
Yes.
That's
and
great.
My psychiatrist on April 27th was the one that informed me that I had been written up on the 18th.
So now you have to check in with VA police, don't you?
Yes.
So
go for it.
So I'm red flagged, but I don't have to check in with police if I go there. They never told me I had to do that. But I will tell you that every time you go to the VA, or you have, even if you're talking to them on the phone, if there's any kind of any kind of friction, you need to check in My Healthy Vet. You need to check, because if somebody puts in a flag as an employee, it won't say their name. It's pretty obvious who usually did it, but it'll be in your medical records. So
they gave me the name of the person who did it.
No. Mine are not. They've literally told me I'm not allowed to see mine.
Well, it doesn't tell you what it says. It just gives the incident. It just says
no. The mine doesn't even show the incident. Nothing.
Mine shows that I was flagged for disruptive behavior for failure to allow a male doctor to touch me.
And what usually happens with me is, if there's an issue, like I went to Tomball to get my CPAP machine checked, and there was an issue, and I, because of that issue, I was going to speak to somebody else, So the lady that was wrong at the front desk, she put in a flag because she knew that she was wrong and she knew that she would probably get spoken to, but then she could say, well, hey, the veteran, he was not being very nice to me. And I was on the phone with a lady from Houston who listened to the whole thing. Her name was India from the sleep lab. And she was like, Mr. Gunderson, you never did anything to be treated the way that she talked to you. Because the lady was being very rude to me.
It's power tripping is what it is. Some of the employees have a severe power trip. When we were just coming off of the COVID and we were still getting the shots and we were getting the stickers put on us showing that we had an appointment or could go in the building, I literally had a black female nurse at the front door pile drive the sticker into my chest while sitting in my wheelchair because Mr. Brent Kratke had told me specifically to come get my COVID shot and then come see him directly. I showed her where it was in the text message for me to come see him, and she gave me grief. And then I said, well, fine, I'll pull over here and I'll call him. And she turned around and took that sticker and pile drived it into my chest as hard as she could.
Yeah, that's what it is. So there is a bill called Veterans Affairs Police Accountability Act, which actually will make the VA police wear cameras, and they'll install cameras like they did in Atlanta. And did y'all watch how that patient advocate just destroyed a Vietnam veteran just for knocking on his door because he's like, hey, I'm going to go to the restroom real quick? That's normal. And that's what the American people don't see. That's 100%. I would say that kind of aggressive behavior is what I get 90% of the time. But here's the thing. When I give it back, it's a problem.
Yeah. During COVID, I went to the ER and they were having you wait outside at Michael E. DeBakey. And there was a nurse that I think she was in charge, but she was sitting there surfing the internet on a VA computer looking for apartments. So I took a picture of her and I asked to speak to a supervisor. I spoke to a supervisor and I was told that it was Peggy Franklin told me that it was none of my business what she was doing. And I said, well, if she's on a VA computer and we have veterans waiting hours for medication because there's not enough people to run back and forth from the second floor all the way outside, she could have been helping doing that instead of being looking for her next apartment. And
they're always on their cell phones. And what they don't what they don't realize is since they're on their cell phones texting their girlfriends or doing this, they're on government time, that we could FOIA for everything in their cell phones if they use it during government time. And we should.
The ladies in the women's clinic that are sitting at the reception desk, the only thing they want to do is talk about weaves and nails.
Yep.
They don't even want to deal with you. They just want to talk about weaves and nails and how long it's going to take them to get their next one.
Yep. They don't care. It's that's what it is. It's an easy paycheck. And a lot of this is because of Obama's Second Chance Act. There are felons that are working there. There are actually felons that are working in pharmaceuticals with a history of drug abuse. And you know what? Here's the thing. We want to know the locations of where those are. And even in the reports, they never tell us, oh, it's just they're there. Well, how can we know that? Where's our safety if we don't know exactly who and where they are and who's handling our medication?
And the pharmacists are making $97,000 a year to give us our medicine.
And they're felons. But you know,
I've got a picture. Next time we get, I'll send this to you. So Michael E. DeBakey, weekends or at night, when you get your prescriptions, you go to the second floor. And that $97,000 a year salaried pharmacist was too lazy to swipe her badge and punch in the digits to get in and out of that building or in and out of the most secure room in the whole hospital. So she wadded up a piece of cardboard and stuck in the door while she was leaving to go do things. So when she got back, she could just walk right in. And I said that to the secretary of the VA. The next day I got a call from Houston VA not thanking me for letting them know that that was going on, that I was
Wanting to know why you took the
pictures
picture.
in a federal building and I could be arrested for that.
Actually, you can't. You cannot be. That is a public area. It is a public waiting room. You can film in public. There is no expectation of privacy in public. We could walk in the public space of any federal building and film there. It's what First Amendment audits do, and they always win.
Well, if you look on the regional office building wall, it says no camera, videos, or pictures are to be taken beyond these doors.
Yeah, and it's unconstitutional. And you know what? That's something we should talk to Morgan Luttrell about.
Especially when you're taking a video or a photo of something wrong, because you're trying to show that, hey, this is what's really going on. Because otherwise, afterwards, even with Morgan Luttrell, hey, what are they going to tell me when I go talk to them?
You know, I think that's something, because, you know, pretty much I've already talked to a few congressmen and I've asked for some responses back, and I'm waiting on some emails, and I know they're really busy and they're going to get back with me because I really love Mr. Tuberville. And they said they were very interested, but they said, yeah, we can get this for you. You know, you're the media, right? We could go in with freedom of the press. Why not?
There's an idea. But with Mr. Vasquez spending $50,000 on a bathroom and $2.1 million on a parking garage he claimed was for the veterans that he turned over to the VA employees.
Yeah, that we don't get to use. I know.
But he claimed that he was building it for us to relieve congestion in the parking. And then now the signs say VA parking garage, employee parking garage this way.
Yeah.
I give it the next year, maybe two. There'll be a skywalk from that parking garage directly to the 4th floor administration office.
Right. And we have to roll in crappy parking lots and our wheelchairs and everything gets stuck in.
And the VA employees are parking in our patient only parking, obstructing us from getting to
It takes
our
40, and valet still takes 45 minutes. It still does to get in there. But anyways, we're going off topic, and let's go ahead and get back into this Morgan Luttrell town hall.
Great question. Yes, sir.
Congressman, I appreciate that. You know, everybody in here had great questions. The problem is it's all about control. I mean, we can't get control. 70% of the country believes it's headed in the wrong direction. We're spending money we don't have. Yet the voter fraud, when you look at the evidence, it's overwhelming. And then you have Joseph Robinette Biden sitting in the White House talking about setting up the most corrupt election in the history of the United States. We will never get control of anything. Because like the Democrats say, it doesn't matter who votes, it only matters who counts them. And I know that puts you in a very precarious situation, Congressman, but we have to fix that because the constitutional republic is gone.
Yes, sir. And this is not something you'll see on media and social media because it's not popular with those majors, but we are making concerted effort to reduce the opportunity for a cyber attack to make our elections fraudulent. Okay, very challenging given the technology that exists today. But our tech departments are doing amazing things to not only defend but protect us down here in Walker County. All right. Is it a perfect system yet? Absolutely not. Technology advances about every 6 minutes. So something that we implement on day one will be obsolete about noon time lunch. So we have to stay diligent and we have to stay active. You have to be hyper aggressive towards me. I'm hyper aggressive towards them when I'm in DC. You continue to do that to me, I would never back down from them. And I'll always support what you're saying, sir. And I agree with you 100%. I get it. Yes, sir, I do. It is a problem. Yes, sir.
Congressman Luttrell, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
At your hometown kickoff in Willis, I asked you, what plans are being discussed regarding federal infrastructure dollars coming to our district? To which you replied that you were going to discuss that with the county commissioners. Sir, what have you learned about district priorities in this matter?
Thanks, sir. We had 4 community project requests come to the office from Montgomery County. We didn't have one from Walker County. And this is most likely why. So don't get too irritated. We had a complete change out of judge and some commissioners, added a representative, and as the wind started to move, the community projects were not teed up in time to submit this year. I spoke with the judge and the commissioners today, and they were going to have a laundry list for me next year.
I would have thought that Kevin Brady would have teed this up for you.
The district changed.
Same players in Montgomery County, sir.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, Montgomery County got cut. Yeah. Montgomery got split in half. Montgomery, it did get split. Yeah, we lost the Woodlands and all that to the south. Yes, sir. And River Plantation.
How do we get to Harris County if we don't have? It goes around.
Great question. I'm still trying to figure it out on myself. If you pull up the district map, it's kind of wonky.
We reached around, I guess.
We go all with me. That's pretty wild. We lost. They cut Walker and Montgomery from us. Yeah. So, but next year they're going to be stacked, and we had a few from Harris County, but that went over to the Democratic colleagues. They're doing those, and Montgomery County. The poll consensus on Walker didn't submit. But I'm on them. We're learning each other, and when all that starts to come up, because I have the opportunity as a member to put my priorities when I submit to appropriations, and I put all the community projects go right at the top. So just be great.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So last Saturday, I was in Cold Spring in San Jacinto County. I believe I saw you.
You did not.
You don't know we weren't there. Okay. So we got word that an illegal alien who had been ejected from the country several times, killed 5 people. And he was on a several-day manhunt and finally caught him in Montgomery County. No.
Yes.
Yeah. What I learned about that is that around Cleveland and in that area, the cartels have bought a bunch of land and they're selling plots to illegal aliens who first they're transported up there, then they pay them for the land so they can build a little shack. And there's a colony like Colonia of 50,000 illegal aliens in that area. True. And they keep leaving this border open. There are going to be colonias all over this United States, in all kinds of, and they're putting them into places that are not very populated. It's something that it's a national. That's a scandal, and the main media they're not talking about it, and the administration is promoting it.
It's in Liberty. That's in Cleveland.
Yeah.
That's true. That's happening. And he did get caught in Montgomery County. He was taken back to San Jacinto.
His wife's
Which
in Montgomery County
he's
jail.
probably happier that we didn't keep him in Montgomery County.
His wife's here.
Like here in the room with us.
No, she's in Montgomery County jail.
Which one?
It was just that. How many people have to die at the hands of these illegal immigrants before we do something about it?
About 7,000 a year.
I mean, come on.
The fentanyl deaths, the murders. We had a family in the hearing with us that illegal running with a carload of low slam, car killed a grandmother and a 7-year-old daughter. And They were hearing with us, and after the fact, we met a little antechamber. I had the two mothers from our district that lost their babies, and the mother of that 7-year-old daughter sitting right in front of Mayorkas and said, I want you to see something. She had a video. And I was standing right behind Mayorkas when this happened. She had a video of that baby girl laying on the gurney dying. Put it right in his face. It was,
I mean,
I can't tell you why they don't enact the policy. I wish I could. I ask in exhaustion, in nausea. I go after them.
I mean, you get deported 4 times and your sneaky little butt makes it back over here. Now you kill 5 people and all you're doing is sitting in jail. Or if they want to run into somebody's porch with a truck that says February 30th of the year, which anybody with any common sense knows February 30th does not exist. They run through the front porch, kill 2 kids, and the cops gonna write them a ticket in the name that they give them. Come on. Fort Worth is a sanctuary city. Come on.
I got you. I'm tracking 100% what you're saying. Hang on, carefully. I'll come back. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
So I wanted to follow up that topic by asking.
Which ones? You jumped on me.
Yeah, I know. About the topic of the colonia.
Yes.
I had seen a report about it a year ago. And at that time, I was troubled by the fact that these shanties were being built without any kind of correct code application, engineering, safe water. Why cannot Congress turn off the money to all these alphabet soup agencies that make our lives miserable by applying regulations to us that they're not applying to the colonia in the neighboring county?
We are moving to do that in October when that budget comes across.
Okay.
It's and actually we in Homeland we were really at each other's throats about the nonprofit organization. So here's where we get beat up. Okay. There's a lot of nonprofits, Catholic churches that are assisting migrant illegal immigrants who come across. They're doing it, and you know, by the grace of their heart, I got it. And I respect the fact that the Lord put them on the path to do that. Okay. But they receive federal funding for that. And we struck it.
Good.
And see, I'm blessed down here, I can vote that way. But the other side just jumped all over. Because I've got colleagues in New York City and big cities where all those Catholic churches are. We have Catholic churches here, and I'm sure there's Catholics in this room. So imagine if we're taking funding away from the Catholic Church. And the reason we did it, and we wrote the bill so the language stated you can help anybody you want, you can't use federal dollars. Okay, but that's not the narrative that was put out. It was the Republican Party's taking money away from the Catholic Church. That's one of those things you hear on TV, but it's completely different than reality and what we're fighting for. But yes, ma'am. So that's on the agenda come October. Kimberly, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The problem is right now, as of this weekend, we just heard Gina Rodriguez before everybody last week on Wednesday, and that's where Swalwell was more concerned about her January 6th location. Of course, Gina's a very good friend of mine, but that meeting did not go so well. The ranchers are armed, and they are headed out this weekend. They're leaving from Houston today, and they're going to take 1.5 miles of the border, and they're going to take the stand this weekend. And the thing is that our government is going to stand against them. And that's not fair. And these are the ranchers that I've seen it. I went there on the border. We walked across in Eagle Pass, and he had found 22 bodies on his property, and he's still finding bodies every day. They're scared.
I've been right there.
I know, but they're gonna take the stance there, and they're just gonna be hanging by their country for it.
All right, hang on. Don't fast forward the tape. I got okay. I respect the fact that they're defending their state and their land. All right, I respect that 100%. One thing I'll never do is deflect. One thing I'll never do is answer a question with a question. And one thing I'll never do is lie to you.
We need to get back with
And it's my, no, I'm gonna answer your question right now. It is my opinion that if they want to go down there and defend their state because they think that that's their right and their ambition to do that, go do it. Anytime you do something like that, you will reap the consequences no matter what. Because if it's in law and you break it, I can't do anything about it. Okay? You understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, I would never, who knows? I might have been the one going down there to do the same thing. And if I got into a gunfight, that's on me. Every time I pulled the trigger, anywhere I was, it's on me.
Yes, sir.
Nobody else. And if they choose to do that, and they don't do it correctly, I nothing I can do. Nothing.
But having to send in 1,500 active duty soldiers down there to do nothing but paperwork.
Process. That's in order to move the agents themselves to the processing back onto the line.
Yeah.
So 1,500 processors are going down. Because right now, our border agents sit in the processing centers offline and do all the paperwork. So the 1,500 going in are to relieve agents so they can go out and do their job.
Oh, yeah, but then you get the guy that's been deported 4 times that comes back. I mean, you don't get a clue the first time.
I don't have an answer for you, Kimberly. I mean, we can talk in circles. But I agree with what you're saying.
Build an electric fence, put an anklet on him. When he gets near the fence, zap. I'm pretty sure he won't come across but once.
Remember, the state of Texas also doesn't have a law
Yes, sir.
against
Hi,
removing.
gentlemen. I just want to say, first of all, thank you very much for your service.
Put it around his neck.
And especially to our Gold Star.
So I've got something. So that the very first part of this little clip, the concern was about making sure our elections are secure and that we don't have any funny business going on. So part of the problem nowadays too is the big talk is AI, artificial intelligence and stuff. So I don't know if you are all aware of this, but we don't have to worry about a thing because you know who the new AI czar is of America?
Kamala Harris.
Yep. The one that's supposed to be the czar of the border.
The border czar is the AI czar.
Yeah. And I believe when Trump was president, Morgan Luttrell worked for Trump. I know that. And I think what he was over is artificial intelligence.
Yes.
That the Biden administration said we didn't need to have, so they got rid of them.
Yes.
Yeah. So what my question, I know, wasn't actually a question. It was more of a plea for protection. I have, as we showed earlier, my good buddy Frank Lopez Jr. Interviewing people. We've actually been to Eagle Pass, and the state of Texas decided to discuss Operation Lone Star with their constituents. So they had it in not it is a heavy trafficked area, but where people had to drive the longest to get to it to actually speak to the Texas citizens. They didn't even have a hearing at the Capitol because they didn't even want to, like they did with the school boards. We drove how many hours?
What?
8 hours?
8 hours, yeah.
8 hours to get to that hearing and to testify on the border. And we stayed the night at a compound.
Yes.
And we literally walked right into Mexico. And the buses actually drive into Mexico and pick them up. That's just how it works. But we actually, you got the video?
Yeah, of Watson.
Yeah. So I'm going to give a description before, while he gets this up, is that Eagle Pass was a war zone a little over a year ago. You saw all this footage coming across of, the machine guns and all that stuff. So that was Wyatt Watson. And he's a good friend of mine, and he's just done. And I'm going to show you what his plan is to do. And it's a nightmare what these guys are going through.
Here we go.
Good morning, folks. I'm coming to you this morning. I know just as I have, you're seeing all the things on social media where people along the border, such as Frank Lopez Jr. and many, many others, are letting all of you know what is happening on the border. I don't think that people really understand that this is a takeover of our country. I've been involved in this fight for 2 years. I'll be going back this weekend. I'll be there when Title 42 drops. We are at a crossroad right now in this country, but really in the state of Texas. People, we've got to stand up. You know, all I can speak for really is myself. And I'm going to tell you right now, nobody is crossing that damn border and what we're securing where I'm going to be at. Nobody. And they can get this out and pass it around. Nobody's crossing this damn border. They may go around us. I don't care. But they're not coming through our territory.
Amen.
It's time to draw the line. It's time to stand up for the state of Texas. There's many of you out there that say you want to help. There's no excuse for not helping some kind of way. No excuse. Whether it's calling congressmen and representatives, whether it's hitting the donate button on Texas Border Bees, where we've got money to operate. I mean, people, there's no excuse. You can sit there and say, oh, I wish there was something I could do. You know what? I'm sick of hearing that. I'm at a loss of words for what else I can say as someone who's tried to do something to convince all you people that are sitting around with your head in the sand what is happening. Hey, I'm a God-fearing man. I'm a praying man. I pray every day. But I'm going to tell you right now, just prayer is not going to take care of this, because God expects his warriors to fight against evil and tyranny. And anything short of that right now, the way things are going in this country and in the state of Texas, is a cop-out. I will not leave behind with my grandchildren the thought that their grandpa wouldn't do whatever he could to make their life better.
I agree. I agree with him. You know, afterwards, Morgan did meet with me for about 5 minutes, and he understand that men have to do what men have to do. And, you know, you heard it from him saying that, you know, if he wasn't in Congress, he might. Where would he be?
Go do the same thing himself.
Yeah. He couldn't necessarily say that, but he can understand because he is very, very much aware. So do y'all remember the whole rhetoric of Texas declaring an invasion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the man where it came from, was Wyatt Watson. Because he was going around and convincing counties. He had the documentary. I mean, the documentary is horrible, called International Invasion. And he was going around county by county, getting each county in Texas to declare an invasion and put it on Abbott. So that's where the invasion rhetoric come from, was that man right there, Wyatt Watson. And he has a team down there. And I did get a text message last night. You want to pull up that photo of what they caught? And yeah, there it is. Oh, well, he's pulling it up.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up.
Sorry guys,
Technical
technical issues. But do y'all know what coyotes are? So he caught coyote last night, and he's doing what his lawyers and everyone's said to do. Now he's not going down there to purposely shoot everything. He's been down there 2 years, and a lot of the footage some of the footage that y'all seen on Fox News, that comes directly from Wyatt Watson, where all the bullets are flying everywhere. A lot of that's him, and he's seen it. He's seen the death. He's seen the rape trees. He's seen it all. And a lot of people don't even. Here's the thing: Fox News don't even talk about the rape trees. You know about them, right?
Yes.
Yep. Where they tie the women, or they chain the women to the trees and they rape them to death.
Yes.
It's disgusting.
Yes.
And then if the coyotes, if you don't do what they say, or they don't receive their payments or any of their favors by the time you go to the border, they will hack them up and leave the body parts in the road. We've seen it where, just to warn other people, you pay the coyotes. And like you said, Paul, it's what, $10,000-$12,000
Yep,
per person. You having a hard time pulling it?
Yeah,
up?
it's the file type. I can't get it.
Yeah.
It's not compatible.
Well,
I'm
we
sorry.
can't. The file is incompatible, unfortunately, so we can't get it up here tonight. But he actually caught a group of illegal immigrants, and it's a picture where he's on the cell phone with the coyotes on the cell phone, like, I can't move. There's a bunch of armed people here, and they've turned them around. And I am mortified for those people, because you know what? You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, they're either going to get extorted for more money or they're going to die.
That night, those people that hooked up with the coyotes, because there's another busload that they have to get. So they turn them around the border, done. And that's what I'm worried about. Or you pay me $5,000 more, and we'll cross you at another section. That's horrible. Well, actually, we're coming up on our time, so we're going to probably have to continue this video next week.
Yeah.
Guys, I just want to remind everybody we have an event again. It's on the 18th. We've posted the flyer on Facebook and all of our other social media pages. So make sure that y'all come to that event. Make sure that you keep it to 5 talking points. What the things that you want to talk about and fix within our governing system, and we'll work from there, and we'll come to a collective mind and see what we're going to push. We're not expecting to agree with everybody, but I'm pretty sure everyone can agree at the tyranny that's going on and the undoing of Mission Act, canceling the Whistleblower Protection Act. You know, I actually am thinking, since Whistleblower Mission Act were passed, you think they're going to go after the Taliban? I wouldn't be surprised. But anyways, make sure that y'all check our Facebook page for our announcement of all the events that we're going through. And we thank you so much for joining us tonight. Paul, thank you for coming. Kim, you're always welcome. I actually enjoyed what we had here today. We work out really well.
Yeah, I think so.
I believe that we need to start with the upper echelon of the VA and work our way down the chain.
Yeah, we do.
People
Absolutely.
like Mr. Vasquez need to pack their bags in their boxes and go.
Yeah, I think there's even, not even that, I think there's some charges. We need a full-on investigation because of money laundering. I'm pretty sure there's that. Theft, fraud, everything. We need to open the books of Houston Veteran Affairs, and let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Because I already know this. OIG won't. They're just as bad, and the Government Accountability Office won't.
Because they're all in connection to get those pays and bonuses.
That's correct. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks again for joining us, and take care, and God bless.
Sounds good. Take care. Have a good evening, everybody.